Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of Mr. Bobble reviews Cop28. So in part 1 we covered off what the events were like. I gave insight to what I saw and in terms of exhibited, what we did with the British Chamber, British Business Group, overall the sessions that we had. But in this talk I want to talk about actually what happened at Cop28 in terms of like what was the setup and everything like, and you'll be quite impressed with some of the videos and clips I'll show. But before I begin, as always, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hello YouTube, as always. Don't forget to click on the bell notification, subscribe. Our episodes come out every Tuesday. So for those who've been anticipating and waiting for part 2, I have so much to show and showcase with you on this one, which is why I had to put it into 2 parts. I'm not getting into just one podcast. I'm going to start off with the biggest highlight for me, which was the Saudi Arabia Green Initiative. Now, what you should see if you're on YouTube is some of my video clips. So the Saudi Arabia Pavilion, first of all, was so well designed. Apparently, it had been there from Expo City 2020. And they had redesigned it internally to fit with the COP28. Now, I didn't know what to expect, but whilst I was there, someone told me, he said, have you been to Saudi Arabia Pavilion? I was like, no, not yet. And he goes, you need to go. You'll be very, very, very impressed. If you think what they're doing in the UAE is impressive, wait till you see what they're doing in Saudi Arabia. So obviously, this piqued my interest from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, from a green initiative perspective. So when you turn up, beautiful design outside. They had their green sports cars, like an F1 style, like green car outside. You had to scan, again, mobile technology. I mentioned this on UAE vs UK. You had to scan a QR code, sign up, and then show your email that you signed up, and that allowed you access. And if you didn't have data, you could go in and they'd sign you up, and that was it. So when you go in, you go up some escalators, and in the escalators, it just goes through the history of Saudi Arabia, and there's like a full like film set. I know Ghassan likes his film, a movie. So Ghassan, if you, it's probably closed now, but if you ever get a chance, I'd highly recommend go because it showed all the old school building designs and the different areas, and it showed the culture of Saudi Arabia projected on video against those elements. So like them celebrating, them in the desert, them conversing, them doing trade and everything. And when you got to the top, and there should be a video of the design, which you should have seen on YouTube in terms of it was like its angles like coming out like a Lego brick sticking out, but some of it's in the ground. I don't know how to explain that better. And you go up these huge escalator, and you get to the top and there's this show. And it's very trippy in the sense that you're not moving, but the way they've done the video, because it's like a whole like 270-degree screen video. And then there's a dome bit around inside, and that is all LED screen as well. And the two are synced up. So you should see this now if you're watching on YouTube, is how it looks. I've got a really good video of it going from one to the other. And what I really loved about it was they were promoting their 10 billion trees from promise to action. So not just promising to plant 10 billion trees, but how they're going to actually do that. So part of the Saudi Arabia Green Initiative is to plant 10 billion trees by 2100. So not over the next 10, 15 years, a realistic time frame to achieve that, of which what they were pushing from promise to action was that actually 41 million have already been planted. It was all about afforestation, which I really liked because I had met with Rachel from the CEO of Rainforest Trust, Conservation Circle member, as highlighted if you listen to the last 2 episodes. We percentage of our profits going to that. So it was so refreshing to see a country, and I didn't even know that they were doing this, and they had already started doing this. It's only when you get out there do you realize what different countries and what they're achieving are doing. So I was really, really impressed with that. And when you see the video, you just show how they're going to do and how they're going to rebuild all this greenery and buy it. I mean, sounds harsh, but I'll be long gone by the time that project's finished. I'll be on their future generations to do it. But it was just so impressive to watch. But the reason it was really trippy is because as the video and everything moved, it moved from the panoramic kind of like screen down to the dome screen. And it felt like you were moving. So you were actually in the actual presentation. And then they had information on the back walls. And then you go back down an escalator. And at that point, I was like, oh, is that it? It was very impressive, but was that it? So then I get to the bottom escalator on the other side coming down. And then I'm open to a whole different world of what Saudi Arabia is doing in terms of the Green Initiative. So underneath, they had built multiple rooms and exhibition areas, which was even more impressive. So as soon as we got in one of the first rooms, they were talking about there was this big room with a big table on it, and it had, I mean, the table wasn't small. I mean, it was a size bigger than our entire office, and it projected a city on it through the cameras above in the screen, but you could touch screen it on the actual table, so you could tap it and it would show what they're doing in key areas. Again, if you're watching YouTube, as I'm talking about what I'm explaining, you should see some clips come through. So if you're listening on Spotify, you might want to watch the YouTube version of this one after you've listened to it, just to kind of see what it is that experience. That explained what they were doing. It was a live city animated, currently working through. They had sustainability rods that were doing a part of oil. There was next generation flight. They had all these drones and elements of what they're doing in transport, rail links, how it's all green. And even their local heritage site in terms of how they're using local materials to rejuvenate and rebuild the old heritage site and plant their green initiative within that. And then they had a little model, and then they had a touchscreen that kind of physically showed what they had actually achieved. And it's only when you get down there you don't realize of how actually impressive it actually is in terms of what they've achieved and what they're doing. They had this open area to sit down with where the news team were, with the waterfalls that was absorbed in, and then the water was recycled. There were different hubs explaining different areas what they're doing, like the NEOM line, which I thought was like, oh, will it really get off the ground? They've already laid the foundations of the NEOM line. And I was like, what? This is just unreal. And then they were talking about how they're working with China on the infrastructure and building tunnels through the mountains, how they've blown up so many elements within the mountain regions to create spaces for reservoirs and stuff. And that even though the NEOM will happen, it's actually going to take them longer to do because of some of the infrastructure and the water supply and building those reservoirs. That will take a little bit more time. But it was just an amazing show of culture, heritage, innovation, green, and how much money is going into it by Saudi Arabia, that it was just so impressive. And that was just one pavilion. And then you had the Chinese pavilion. Now, when you go through the Saudi Arabia pavilion and then you go to the Chinese pavilion, on the outside it looks absolutely awesome. On the inside, I'm going to be honest with you, I was disappointed. But when I got to the top, because half of it wasn't really even open, but at the top, they only had a small section which was open, but they talked about the infrastructure for what they were doing on the NEOM line and how I think at that time, there was announced that the rail link between the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and the wider Middle East region was approved, and China have actually the contract to build that rail link. So they were just showcasing how they're supporting countries within that region with their innovation and technology, which not to, degrade our own, but when China showed what they had built in just a short space of time in terms of rail links and high-speed rail, and in the UK we're spending over 100 billion on HS2, and it's not even going to go up to Leeds and Manchester, and it's way over budget, and it's only going to go up to Birmingham, and it's going to take 10 years to complete. By the time they built that, other countries will be ahead with the next generation of high-speed rail. Then what do we do? It kind of really put things into perspective for me in terms of, I know this is a climate event, but the technology on show, and I'll go through that shortly in terms of other things that I saw, was just unreal. And what other countries are doing is bad. And I'm all for British business and British innovation. But if the job can be done because someone else has already done it elsewhere, why not bring that tech into the country? because, we need a faster rail link within the UK. Look at Japan and what they've achieved. It's taken us too long to do things. And the reason for that is one government comes in and agrees on something. The next government comes in and scraps elements of it and changes it. And then another one comes in and changes it. There's not enough time for consistency and seeing plans out. And our government is like a kid with candy and doesn't know what to do with it and wastes it recklessly. And what I mean by wasting the candy is wasting the public funding. And that just goes to show how much money is wasted on HS2. And it really put things in perspective in terms of like, there are solutions out there. We're just not investing in the right ones. So sorry to put a downer for anyone listening, but the reality is it can be done better. And I saw how it could be done better, but you won't hear that. But to move on to more positive stuff around COP28 is, so the highlight for me was the Saudi Arabia Green Initiative Pavilion. They really, really killed it. Then there was a lot of tech on show. And I'd noticed this when I was at Masdar Cities, that Octopus Energy had their green car. So Octopus Energy are a UK company. They're out in UAE. And fair play to Octopus. You were doing a fantastic job with energy technology and innovation. Unreal with the cars, unreal with what they're doing in terms of power units. So what you had in a breakdown of COP was three key areas. Sustainability, so you had the sustainability pavilion, then you had mobility, and then you had like finance and innovation. So like there you had like the financial companies like Fab. Well, it was like the knowledge hub essentially. It was Opportunity, I think it was called. So there was Opportunity Gate, Sustainability Gate, and Mobility Gate. An opportunity area kind of covered off the areas that were like, financial and knowledge hub, and where the ADSFF forum was in the conference center 3. So there's a lot of things happening there, a lot of information, not of knowledge on share, and people showcasing what they're doing. In one knowledge hub, I believe I walked into, it was the digital and innovation hub. I was at I can't remember, I'll try and get the video. There is a video. So you're watching this right now, you will see a video and you'll see animals in a private screening of closed viewing. And they're talking about bringing the mammoth back with the tech that they have and the technology they have, where basically they can take elephants and make them adaptable back to sub-zero conditions, and how they're trying to bring back other endangered species and protect endangered species in their park. And I was like, wow, this is unreal. But then it made me think, have they not watched the film Jurassic Park and seen the consequences of what that happens? I'll tell you what, the minute they start bringing back saber-toothed tigers and start thinking of bringing back the dinosaurs, I think that's when we need to start stepping in, because we all know what happens there. But yeah, it was really, really good to see stuff like that. So, but moving back to that tech, so Octopus Energy doing some really, really good stuff. Polestar were there with their cars and their how they're trying to get companies working in gas, oil, power, nuclear, whatever it is, to move more towards green innovation in terms of green transport. I already mentioned the South Korean nuclear power and the future reactors to be live by 2031, and how much of that was on show. There was also a company that was exhibiting out the digital hub called Charge, which was the American muscle cars. So the American muscle cars, I thought someone had redesigned a Mustang, but it's a brand new muscle car design with old school kind of interior, but with an electric engine. So to the guys at Charge, first of all, thank you, because they had these red ropes over, and I kind of like swayed my way in to get in through the ropes with the team. Was able to sit in the cars, get some really good videos. Again, anytime I'm mentioning something, you'll see on YouTube in terms of clips. Very, very impressive, but probably shouldn't say this because I tend cop, but I like my muscle cars to be petrol and V8 engines, and I like the grunt. But that's why we offset our carbon, don't we? So it was a good glimpse of the future in terms of cars and innovation technology, in terms of sustainability and what's going on and how big companies are innovating into that. The next part of that was, while I was walking around, I was actually lucky to see a deal be signed at COP. You'll see a video of that pop up right now. That was through two Emirates companies, Essentially, I was in the wrong place at the right time. And you're probably thinking, how was that? So I didn't realize it. I saw all these local Emiratis walking from one pavilion, walking into a stage area on the other, and I was walking in between. I then stopped at the front. Then loads of photographers and cameras then huddled around and came up. Then there was 2 documents on the table, both signing it. I've got a video and picture of that. To this day, I still don't know what was signed. I said this on my LinkedIn post. I don't know what deal was agreed to sign, but it was good to actually, you hear about deals being done at COP. It was actually good to actually see a deal actually get done and signed at COP. And I just blended in and got my phone out and started taking pictures and cameras, as you'll see, and I just pretend to be part of the photography team. I thought, why not? Let's just jump in and join, which was quite funny. And then I was very, very interested to see Microsoft have a full stand. And Microsoft brought all their partners to the Digital Innovation Hub. And that's what was the most impressive element to me, because it made it really relevant to us. So, and this is where I'll go on in terms of like my actions from post-COP is, we're a Microsoft 365 user. Everything that Bobble does is Microsoft 365. We have our own Bobble Insights tech that uses Power BI. We're Teams, we're Office, we're Word, PowerPoint. Everything is off 365. We're desktop, laptops, essentially. We don't really use Macs because we don't do design. We do data, insights, execution, analysis, digital marketing campaigns, right? So I ended up sitting down with the Azure OpenAI team. And one idea I had after experiencing walking around and seeing all these green initiatives and sustainability and Saudi Arabia with a green initiative is like, I wonder what our carbon footprint would be for all the impressions and clicks that we're delivering for all the campaigns that we're running across the UK. Now, everything we do, whether we use a mobile phone, whether we use a laptop, uses power, uses energy. We use cloud-based services by Microsoft, which uses energy. We use Google Ads platforms, which has their own servers. We do ads across Meta, LinkedIn, all have their own servers. And that requires energy to be used. That creates heat and needs cooling for those servers, everything. And you're running more technical ads in the form of video content. It has a carbon footprint. Now, there's no way to really calculate that. So what I'm happy to announce today is the Bobble Green Initiative. Now, the Bobble Green Initiative will initially just be for Bobble itself, but then if all goes well, I will launch it out, hopefully to be kind of like an industry standard metric that will be free for agencies and companies to use. Likewise, they see what their cost of carbon is against campaigns in terms of the impressions and clicks being used on mobile devices or desktop devices. So with Bobble Digital, we have a Bobble Insights Hub where we have the checklist and a task that the team have to do based on what are the key daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly quality tasks. Then we have our digital dashboard, which shows the optimization score in terms of how well we're optimizing and spending time in those clients as part of our promise. Then we have what we've launched in beta right now is the Power BI dashboards for our clients, where the clients can see all the notes, written notes, and the actions done by the team with the optimization score, but also API all the data out of platforms like GA4, Google Ads, Meta Ads to see the data. But what I'd like to add longer term is to have a carbon footprint score as well. So they can see what all their campaigns, because we'll have the data in terms of impressions and clicks and ad placement, we'll be able to use that data and bring it together and showcase a carbon score and a percentage of how much carbon they've contributed towards because of their marketing activity, which will be good for business to see. So if they want to offset that carbon, they would know how much they would need to invest to offset that carbon as part of their marketing budget. What we as an agency could do is an incentive to support that financially in terms of what we're doing towards Rainforest Trust. So I was speaking to OpenAI Azure teams, because the fourth part of our phase of the Bobble Insights platform is AI. So the AI team can bring in a lot of the tech and opportunities to do that. I'm actually have a follow-up call with Microsoft on their sustainability Power App, which will be able to calculate this, and then we'll be able to migrate that into Power BI. And I spent 3 hours with Microsoft at their pavilion talking to different team members about how we can be more sustainable, how we can use their tools, but also how we can work with Microsoft as a partner to deliver on our commitment as an agency And that was never my intention to achieve when I went to COP, but it did. And now I have a key partner can help build the fourth phase of our Bobble Insights platform, which is going to be a game changer to what we do as an agency in 2024. AI delivered our own AI product, which I'm going to call Bobble AI. So anyone knows there's a trend. I love Bobble. I am Bobble. And yeah, Bobble AI is going to be the AI platform that we rely on to do our data and insights. So remember, I did a talk at Marketing Showcase, which talked about supercharging your SEO with AI tools. And remember, AI isn't about replacing my staff. It's about moving from data analysis to execution a lot quicker, which means don't have to increase our fees because we're able to do more work for the time and focus more on execution. It means the mundane tasks, the heavy duty tasks, the manual tasks that take time can be done much, much quicker and efficiently with the processes we need, which means we can deliver more output of work. Simple as that. So that is what our Bobble AI tech will do with Azure OpenAI platform within the Power BI platform. So thank you to Microsoft for having me. I wasn't scheduled to be in. They got me sat down with all their team. We went through everything. We discussed it. It's all roadmapped out. I got follow-up calls. Very, very exciting. And all that came at COP. Something that was there for about the global environmental and green standards led to actual me looking at digital and innovation, looking at a more greener, sustainable way forward for the agency, but also allowed me to develop with the tech that they are producing and creating to create new opportunities where, we're going to have the Bobble AI platform, which is going to be built within the Bobble Insights platform. And then we're going to have the launch of the Bobble Green Initiative with the Rainforest Trust and everything we're doing. So a lot more about that. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you follow our social pages, you'll see a lot more about that in the upcoming months in Q1 of 2024, the launch about that and what that looks like. So honestly, I've already been talking 20 plus minutes, so much that I saw as well as attended. I'm going to put COP29 on the roadmap. I feel like I might attend just for a few days, again, with this British Chamber, if I'm invited, to kind of showcase what we're doing to some of the companies. I think that would be a good move for Bobble to get more involved with these green tech companies. I networked a lot. It was absolutely fantastic. Blown away by what UAE, Middle East are doing and the rest of the world. Well done to everyone. And it was great meeting so many great contacts out there in between. And it capped off with a very, very nice Christmas ball at the British Embassy Gardens, which you might have seen in my social media on LinkedIn, held by the British Business Group. So a great end to the week last week. So that's my final roundup of Mr. Bobble Reviews COP28 on the Bobble Pod. We've got a lot more guests lined up for the rest of the year. Looking forward to sharing a lot more educational content. We are doing the Marketing Showcase events, and I'm happy to announce that I won Speaker of the Year. So it's great to get feedback from, the thousands of people that have attended over the course of the year to the different Marketing Showcase events that they like the content. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe across all our major platforms. And remember, if you have any questions, please do send them. Tag us at Bobble Digital or use the hashtags Mr. Bobble, hashtag AskBobble, or hashtag BobblePod. We'll pick it up, we'll highlight it, and we'll put it into one of our podcasts where we can. Thank you very much, and I look forward to catching up with you on the next podcast next week.